On the shores of the Mediterranean Sea outside Marseille, at Les Saintes Maries de la Mer, there is a small chapel dedicated to Mary Magdalene and consecrated by Archbishop Roncalli, who later became Pope John XXIII. Given a place of prominence within this chapel are paintings of Mary Magdalene's arrival from Palestine in a small rudderless boat. According to legend, soon after the crucifixion and resurrection, Mary Magdalene and her family were expelled from the Holy Land, set adrift on the Mediterranean Sea, and made their way to this region, particularly the area around southern France and northern Spain. Here, according to an ancient French legend, Mary Magdalene landed in a small boat around the year 42, along with a number of early Christians, including a young dark-skinned servant named Sarah, patron saint of the Gypsies and often equated with the Black Madonna statues in the churches of France. They had braved a dangerous passage from the Holy Land without sails or oars to spread Jesus' teachings after his crucifixion. Said to be a great preacher in Palestine who even wrote her own gospel, Mary Magdalene preached to the locals in Sainte Marie de la Mer, converting many. At this time in history, aside from the already established Celts, many Greeks, Arabs, Jews, and others lived and traveled in this area. There was even a Jewish city known as Glanum Levi, whose ruins can be found today in Provence. In the midst of this cosmopolitan confluence of cultures, along with the exchange of goods, there must have been an exchange of philosophical and religious ideas. It is very possible that during this period many spiritual and symbolic links were discovered between these diverse peoples and their traditional belief systems, which stretched back to the temples of Egypt. Before her arrival in Les Saintes Maries sur la Mer, France was riddled with Isis cults. The very name of Paris etymologically can be linked to the pre-Celtic Parisis, the grove of Isis. Clearly, this region was fertile ground for Mary Magdalene's mission. Following her arrival in France, she was said to have traveled the land, preaching the authentic Gnostic gospel of Jesus, which had been directly transmitted to her during his time on earth and in mystic visions after his return to the more subtle dimensions of light. French religious literature from the Middle Ages is filled with legends and stories of the life of Mary Magdalene from this period until her death. Tales abound of her miraculous healings, her performance of the ritual of baptism, her aid in fertility and childbearing, and even her ability to raise the dead. There are even reports of a secret tradition of the healing arts that exists today in France and trace its roots back to Mary Magdalene. After this prophetic mission was accomplished, Mary is reported to have withdrawn to a cave in Sainte-Baume, where she spent the remainder of her days in prayer and seclusion. She is believed to have been buried at Sainte-Maximine, where her remains were watched over by Cassianite monks from the 5th century until the Saracen invasion. Then in 1058, in a papal bull, Pope Stephen acknowledged the existence of her relics in the church of Vézelay, which became one of the major places of pilgrimage during the Middle Ages.